everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Black Tea. This is the podcast that's all about Black women in advertising, presented by Muse by Cleo. As usual, I am your host, Michelle Lawrence, and I'm really excited today, y'all, because I'm here with a really good friend of mine, Woubie Bekele. Hey, Woubie!
Hi, Michelle. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. How are you? Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me. Excited to be here.
Okay, please do tell people what you do and where you're based.
So, I'm based in Los Angeles and I'm an associate media director at Hearts and
We
Science.
go way back, but somehow I don't think I know this. How did you get into advertising?
So, funny enough, advertising was always something I was interested in. I minored in it, but I had no idea about the media planning world.
Mhm.
And I stumbled upon it through a mutual family friend who exposed me to it. And that's how it all happened.
So then did you get into like an internship? Was it like a second career? Talk about your path to getting to where you are.
So, when I graduated, it was one of the depression times, and finding a job was really difficult. So, I was trying to figure out what my next path was, what industry I was going to go into. And once I met that mutual family friend, and she explained a little bit about what the media planning world is like and how it intertwines with advertising, she told me about an opportunity for a assistant position.
Okay.
And through that, I went ahead and interviewed and dived right in.
So did you know that it was going to be media for you the entire time? Did you ever think about maybe testing the waters with any other advertising positions, or was it like, no, media feels right?
So when I first started, it was, although she had told me a lot about it, it was not what I expected. I
Mhm.
expected, the Mad Men of the shows and
That show was
being in
big
a
at that
room.
time too, yeah.
Right. So I was going in it thinking, wow, I'm going to be in the rooms coming up with ideas for all these commercials and ads. Definitely a big awakening once I started working through it. So at the beginning stages, I had considered to transition over to the creative side.
Mhm.
But once I started working more in it, it started to excite me because it was awesome to put the plans together and see it come to life. And in working on with the creative agencies, I was like, maybe that's not the world for me.
It can be fun, but
Yeah,
it's also very, very nerve-wracking. So
I feel like it's a lot.
it is.
And
It's a lot. Yeah.
there's not a lot of flexibility because of all of the rules that you need to abide by in terms of like legal and the brand and so forth. So
Hmm.
it's definitely not how I imagined.
And then media, I would take it too. There's opportunities to be creative, even within that, in terms of, what types of plans you put together, right?
Right, right. So that was the beauty of it as I started working through it more so, and depending on like the budgets our clients have, we started to have more creativity. For example, like working with the content team, that was another way for me to fulfill my need for having to be creative because you got to collaborate and come up with ideas on what sorts of events we can put on and so forth. So I feel like that's how it started to fulfill me. And I've been in it for 10 plus years now, which is really shocking to me.
I can't believe we've been doing anything for 10 plus years because we just graduated
Right.
college last year.
Yeah. I
For those watching,
really
Whoopi and I were college roommates. We went to college together in undergraduate. And at that time, I did not have advertising on my radar at all. Didn't minor in it, didn't major in it, didn't really know it was a thing that existed. And it wasn't until years later that I got into it. But you're a vet, 10 years in the game. There's a big conversation right now about, and always, I think, but very recently, I think since 2020-ish, it's come back and maybe it's sticking around. The idea of representation and inclusion in advertising and what we do. And I think we often talk about how it should play a big role in the creative advertising side of work, like the ideas, the concepts, the casting. But
Mhm.
what are your views on how it should manifest itself in media planning? Does inclusion come into play at all in that stage of the work?
Yeah, I definitely think it's a really important element because at the same time, when similar to how creative is developed, when you're developing these media plans, when you're coming up with the target audience, it's important to have that perspective from different ethnicities, races, whether it be the LGBTQ community, because your perspective is really important in making sure that we're authentically reaching the audience and not just trying to do it for the sake of checking a box.
Mm-hmm.
So it's definitely a passion point for me as well. And I would say, like you called out, since 2020, there's been a lot more intention behind that, and I'm seeing changes. Even within our company, there's definitely a lot more support and intention. We're having to meet diversity commitments. So we're able to work with Black-owned media agencies or Black-owned stations and so forth. So I feel like we're on the right path. There's still definitely a lot of room to grow, but I feel like we're definitely heading in the right path.
I want you to put yourself in the mindset of a young Black woman in advertising, or not even young, a new Black woman in advertising who is just new to the game, who might be struggling to see herself in the industry and thinking, do I even know what I'm doing? You know, do I belong here? You know, battling imposter syndrome. What would you say to encourage her, knowing what you know now from this time in your industry?
The biggest thing I will say is have a mentor,
Mm.
network, join groups of other people in that industry. That's one thing I definitely recommend. That's something I didn't think about when I joined, and now I've been able to participate in different groups. It's the greatest way to learn from others and also give yourself that confidence. Yes, you deserve to be here. Yes, you make an impact. Your opinion matters.
Are you involved in any mentorship programs now?
So I'm currently not involved in any like structured mentorship groups, but I have helped a few people along the way, and it's been amazing just to see how they've grown in their careers and the different paths they're taking. So having those conversations with those people that started earlier on, because I had the opportunity to make some sort of impact in their journey, it's just been really amazing and eye-opening. They inspire me.
That's amazing.
Yeah, yeah.
That makes a lot of sense, though, that you would recommend they get into mentorship, because there are some things that when we're in the thick of it, it's very hard to say to ourselves. But for some reason, when we hear it from someone else, it's like, you know what? Yeah, I do know what I'm doing. I got this. So that's really key.
Validation. Yeah.
You are Ethiopian American.
Yes.
You are first generation immigrant technically.
Yeah, I would say first generation for sure. Yes.
Okay. And then how do you feel like that experience manifests in your work or influences the way that you show up to work? Do you feel like, you know, you approach the work any differently with having that sort of niche experience?
Having lived in Ethiopia for a majority, well, not majority, but earlier on in my life, exposed me to people from different parts of the world. And with that, it opened my eyes to a lot of different perspectives. And due to that, I feel like it has helped me work with a variety of people and being more empathetic and openness. And in my current role, you're working with many different types of people and personalities in order to bring this one campaign together. So I feel like it's helped me in that way. But outside of that, the experiences that I went through in actually working is more helpful than just being an immigrant or having those different perspectives.
I know it manifests in who you are as a human being and just that open-mindedness. And I think that certainly helps, especially for girls growing up in the South. You know what I mean? It's helpful to kind of get that exposure, because you can be the South tends to, they want to insulate us and they want to shelter us, and we don't get to do much, we don't get to see much. It's all very controlled. So I think getting out, and even just me kind of having that proximity to you, our household was like a modge podge of cultures, right? So
Right.
you know, it was, you know, you as an Ethiopian, and then we had an Indian American roommate, and then we had a hybrid fusion
Yes.
American who had like a little bit of Caribbean, a little bit of like Mexican, a little bit of Black, a little bit of everything in there. So
Right.
I think that it really helped us to sort of just shake up each other's worldviews too, and to broaden our horizons. So I think that it's great now to see that you've been able to put that into your work. What have you not yet achieved in this really big career that you've already got going for you, that you want to that you see now as a goal for yourself?
Funny enough, at this point, my biggest goal is really to go more into that mentorship state in a
Mhm.
way. I really want to use the resources that I have right now to open the door for others. I feel like that's something that's become more and more important to me. Um, what I didn't mention is I was a part of a program called Vanguard. It's for Black people in the industry to have exposure to different panels, to different ways of working, to have these discussions about the obstacles they're facing, how to overcome imposter syndrome, and so forth.
Okay.
It was a really great eye opener because it also exposed me to Black executives in our space and how little there are, how
Yeah.
small that group is,
Yeah.
which was shocking. It was what I think it was like 18 in the whole country. It was very interesting and eye-opening.
The goal of what's next for you is really what's next for others and who you can help and who you can bring along to kind of, get in on this and learn about this career path. So, you're just nice.
Don't give me too much credit. Not as nice as I used to be.
Yeah, I mean,
You
I don't know.
got to toughen up.
Yeah.
I will say one thing on the flip side is as much as, living in Ethiopia and so forth, it was a hindrance to a degree because of, the mentality of my boss is my boss. I need to be respectful. I shouldn't speak up. And that's something that I had to break free of. And
Mhm.
that's the confidence in saying, no, speak up. Your opinion does matter. It's
Mhm.
not you going against your boss by saying your perspective and making an impact.
All right, so I like to wrap it up with one question I like to ask everybody. But are there any Black-owned companies, products, restaurants, whatever that you are really loving right now that you would want to shout out?
I would say Fenty.
Yes. Yes, Fenty.
Definitely one of my most favorite makeup products out there. The Telfar brand for the
Mhm.
purses. Feel like they're really breaking through that luxury industry, and it's really exciting to see that in our space.
And they're doing that without losing their personality either. Like their work on social is so fun. It's so crazy. Their personality is 100% out there. They really don't dim it down to break into the luxury space like a lot of folks think that they have to. So
Mm-hmm.
that's been really cool to watch too.
And then I would say Lizzo's clothing line, her
Yeah.
sportswear, her shapewear.
Yeah.
I love seeing how confident and true to herself that she's being and saying, hey, this is my size and I love it. Don't
Yeah.
try to make me change it.
Okay, well, I just want to thank you so much, Woubie, for coming on Black Tea. It's been such a joy to talk to you and catch up once again. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me, Michelle.
Of course. And to everybody out there watching, thank you so much for watching Black Tea. Like I mentioned, please go to musebykcleo.com/Black Tea to check out all of our other episodes. And make sure you're following our Instagram account @SipBlackTea so you never miss a drop. All right, that is it for us. And we will see y'all in the next one. Bye.
Bye.